All right, guys, here we are out in the shop. I've got the AC blaring. It has officially turned summertime here in Kentucky. They're calling for like 110, 112 degree heat index over the next couple of days. But it's the 4th of July. It's 4th of July weekend, and it's no surprise. You know, it's time for it to get hot, but these crazy temperatures, I'm trying not to do is too many long trips in the mornings. You know, I'm trying to get done by lunch or so. But I want to give you a quick update on what's been going on out here on the lake. It's been a few weeks since I've updated here through video. I did start doing a written report that I do through explorekentuckylake.com and kentukylake.com, so you can check those out every couple weeks. Maybe if you don't see a video report come in pretty quick, check those out, and it's just a written report you can read on what's going on. But I'm trying to kind of just do a video one week and maybe go a couple weeks, do a written report, and then do a video again. But again, it's summertime, it's gotten hot out, and you know what that means with the fishing. It's going to start slowing down a little bit. The big thing this year, for the most part, has been the lack of current. We had little to no rain for the majority of the summer, through the month of June anyway. And now I think that with temps starting to rise and more people running electricity and air conditioners and things, I think you're going to see probably they'll start running some more water than what they have been. But it's really caused the fish to be in kind of a weird mood all year long. And for you guys that, you know, reach out to me, you know, what's the ledge fishing look like for the year? You know, we had a really good June compared to the last couple of years. And if you follow me at all the last couple of years, you know that for me, the bite throughout the last couple of years has been a shallow deal to get me through the summer. The fish just didn't get out there on those offshore places. The good news is this year was better than last year. Last year I found there was about 3 or 4 places on the north end of the lake where I spend most of my time that had several fish on it. The problem was they were on what we call community places, and everybody found them, and it just lasted like a few days, and that was it. This year we actually found more fish schooled up on places that they have historically gotten in the past, and there were more of them. So that was encouraging to see, you know, for the most part, compared to the last couple of years. The last couple of years I've had to just focus all my time up shallow just to get the bites, and that's still working. I have spent a good bit of time throwing a topwater around buzz bait, an accent buzz bait, even like a dogma or, you know, a walking bait of some sort up there shallow first thing in the morning, especially now that it's got hot, around the water willow, the bank grass. The little fry has showed up in the lake, and it grows pretty quick. It's those emerald shiners that we've got the last few years, and they're getting around the docks. So summertime now, what's going to happen is those fish are going to start transitioning. They're going to start going shallow again. A lot of people have always thought that in the summer months, the hotter it gets, the deeper the fish go, and it's just the opposite. I mean, those fish have to come up for oxygen when it gets hot out, and they'll start getting up on those shallower places, the shallow bars that's, you know, 12, 10, even 8 foot on top of some of those places. But there's also a good bit of fish that will start moving shallow into the creeks and stuff, and we'll touch on a little bit of that. For the most part, throughout the summer, I have seen that the old days of the big hair jigs, the big swim baits, big crankbaits, that is not playing as much anymore. I think that has to do with the lack of current more than anything. But I have saw over the last couple of years, the last few years, even on the whole Tennessee River chain, I feel like the old days of the big crankbaits, the big swim baits and things, that's all changing. I don't want to go as far as say it's a thing of the past, but I think we're living in a day where there are more people fishing today than there ever has been. You've got college fishing, you've got high school fishing, all the local guys. It just sees the business that I'm in. I see so many more people fishing now than they did 10, 15 years ago. And it's encouraging. It's great to see. I love it. But with that is going to be changes in the way fish react to baits and the way that the places that they set up on. And years ago, when the fish would first come out, they would get super, super deep. And that hasn't changed. Those fish will get out there. But what we're seeing is, even throughout the chain, you know, Guntersville, and you guys saw Jacob Wheeler won here a few weeks ago over on Guntersville, throwing some kind of new finesse technique. But if you pay attention to any of the MLF stuff or the Elite Series, those guys anymore all have spinning rods in their hand. And that's what I mean when I say that we're living in a day where fish are changing. We're going to have to start using more finesse approaches. And I think if they would pull a little bit of water, a lot of that would change. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that a guy can't take a big crankbait, take it out on the river channel and catch some big fish on a crankbait or a big swim bait, big spoon. But it seems like in order to get those fish to trigger anymore, you have to catch them on something finesse to get them going. Then you pick your big baits up. Whereas 10 years ago, it was just the opposite. We would start with those bigger baits, get them fired up, and then you could catch them on, when they slow down, you slow down to a drop shot or something. But that's kind of what's been changing out here. You know, everybody talks Asian carp, and I'll touch on it just a little bit. I'm not gonna go off into it, but I will tell you that I'm not seeing near the Asian carp. The last few years, when I scan a place, I got so frustrated because you see so many out there that you can't see anything. And I have, honestly, I have seen less this year. The commercial fishermen are doing a great job getting those dudes out of here. And it's one of those things, they're never gonna go away, they're here, but it's encouraging to see that I can actually idle places that I wanna look at without seeing a ton of them on places. Don't get me wrong, you're gonna see them, but you guys have followed me for a while now. You've seen that I've talked about it's a combination of a lot of things, a perfect storm over the last few years that caused the fishing to be, you know, what it was. But you followed my reports all year. You've seen very encouraging to see the smallmouth weights back in the spring, and then now some fish showing back up offshore. Very encouraging. But for the most part, most of my fish this year have came on a drop shot, and 6 Sense Fishing has come out with a cool little bait this year. You guys know me, I throw a lot of their stuff. This is called a Glitch, and this is the Morning Dawn color. When they first came out with this bait, they didn't offer that, and I said, you gotta have Morning Dawn. The Morning Dawn Robo Worm 6-inch is a staple on a drop shot on the Tennessee River. Everybody knows that. That is a cool little bait that will get you some bites on a drop shot. Take whatever bait you like on a drop shot, take it out there on some of those places. Like I say, I have seen most of the year, most of the fish have been up suspended in the water column. They're not wanting to sit right on the bottom. But one thing I have found with active target and forward-facing sonar is a lot of places where I would idle over and I'm looking for 25 or 30, that's not happening nowadays. If you find 6 or 8 on a place, even less, you better stop. And a lot of times what I've seen with forward-facing sonar is when I drop the trolling motor, a whole lot more of them show up. So there's a lot of them that may be glued down to the bottom that you don't see, or up in the water column that you don't pick up. And as soon as you drop that active target on them, they show up. And that's one cool thing about forward-facing sonar that working, you know, fishing a drop shot and things like that throughout the summer, you know, I've been able to see how fish are reacting, and you know, the places that they're setting up on may be a little bit different from years past. But water temperatures, you know, it's mid 80s. I mean, it's hot. It's gotten hot out. Summertime's here. Keep an eye out for those fish to start coming up in the water column. If you know me at all, you know I like to fish deep. I fish a lot of 25, 30 foot range with that drop shot. There are still a few places out there on the main river channel, if you can find those places out there that are a little bit deeper, that not everybody bothers, not everybody fishes, where a few fish are still hanging around. The thing that I've seen is that you've really got to work on them to get them to bite. You may go a whole day and you've got 4 or 5 places where there's some fish they're using, but you may pull up one of them, catch 2, go to 2 more and not get a bite, pull up on the 3rd one and they be set up like the old days and catch them, and then you've had a good day. The next day you may go out and you may catch 1 or 2, 3 if you're lucky on a spot, and you may go another few hours before you ever get another bite. It's kind of normal. The good news is they're showing back up on those old places. The bait's showing up big time. Just in the last week or so here, the last month of June, the bait has really started to show up on a lot of the places out on the main river. So very encouraging to see that. Drop shot, probably number 1. Number 2, and you guys probably saw that I posted a video here not long ago about this little bait right here. This is what I call a meat bait. This is the Slice blade bait from 6 Sense Fishing. This is the shad scales color. Here it is out of the package. I've had that one tied on right there. I don't know that it matters which color you throw as long as it's a shad looking color. And with what I like to do this time of year is, instead of wasting a lot of time idling all day looking for something that may not be there, something you may not find, there's so much bait showing up on the main river. You can get out there on a main river ledge where it tops off in, like, let's say it may top off in 8-10 foot of water and then rolls off out into that deeper water, you can take that bait right there, yo-yo it, let it go down to the bottom, wind it, stop it. You can just throw it out and wind it around out there, and you'll get you some bites. The cool thing about this time of year is the white bass and the stripers will really start schooling up a lot more. Keep in mind, they like current as well, but they tend to bite a little bit easier than the largemouth or the smallmouth will whenever they're not pulling any water. Now, don't get me wrong, they like the current as well, but for the most part, you can take that bait right there and just go fish it. Pull up to a spot and just wind it around that bait. If you idle around on your Lowrance Electronics and you find fish, or you see what looks like fish suspended and bait fish around, you can pick that bait up and throw it and catch some fish. Another thing that I'll do this time of year is I'll take the old swim bait, just like, you know, that's the Ignite Frenzy 5-inch. I think it's like an albino shad or striped shad or something. I can't remember. I can't keep all the colors straight, but just a shad color swim bait on a jig head. And I'll throw the True Bass. I like the True Bass. It's got the screw lock right here. I'll put that on that, and I'll just take that thing out there and just fish it. Instead of scanning over those places where those fish may be up shallow in that 8 to 10 foot range where they've moved up to, I'll take that bait right there and just cover water with it. You may not get a lot of bites, but you may be surprised at the quality that you'll catch. The quality's coming back. The numbers are better than quality, but it's going to take us a few years to get some, you know, to get that quality back in the lake. A couple other baits that I'll talk about real quick that I've played with this new Booza ribbon tail on a Texas rig. Throw it on a Carolina rig, Texas rig. I'm a Texas rig guy. I don't like dragging the Carolina rig around, but a lot of fish will start getting in brush piles, especially if there's any fresh brush piles out there. That green brush, it really holds oxygen this time of year, and that's a worm right there. You know, you can take your favorite ribbon tail. It doesn't matter what it is. You don't have to throw the 6 cent stuff. This is the one that I like. I mean, I've been throwing this one, and I've got a client that went with me a couple weeks ago, and he outfished me throwing this one. Matter of fact, I didn't have a ribbon tail tied on. He said, man, I want to throw that big worm. And he caught nearly 18, 20 pounds behind me off of a couple of places throwing that worm right there. True story. It's a ribbon tail, so it moves water. And then the cool thing about this bait, I don't know if you can see it here, but it's got a little nipple on the end of it here that's got some ribs on it. And really, I mean, if you look at that bait in a tank, it really comes alive and looks good in the water. But when fish start getting up on top of the stuff late summer, they'll start getting around wood, stumps, brush piles up in shallower water. That's the bait that I'm throwing right there. A Texas rig, Booza ribbon tail worm from 6 Cents Fishing in plum fleck. They've got all the cool Tennessee River colors, plum, blue fleck, June bug, all the colors that we've always thrown out here. Again, I talked a little bit about the Dogma, the topwater bait. Take you if you like to throw a Sammy or a gunfish or you know, the old Super Spook. There's been a good mayfly hatch over the last week or so. You can take a topwater on the east side, get over on that east side, go fish some of them gravel banks, and you look up on the banks where some of that lava rock, the bigger rock that we have on the lake, not the chunk rock, but the bigger stuff up here on this north end. And a lot of times you'll look up and you'll see those mayfly hatches, and sometimes it'll be really dark with those. I have not chased that. I'll be honest with you, I've not chased that a lot because I have found some fish that are still cooperating a little bit out on some deep places, so I've not chased it a whole lot. But that's always a bite that you know, if you're struggling out deep, you can go up shallow and fish around the mayflies. You can fish that little topwater, take you a little popping bait. Again, the buzz bait, that's an accent buzz bait. I've caught a few fish up around the water willow, the grass that grows just underneath this, you know, that it's actually topping out now. It grows right on the bank. You can't miss it if you're up here on the north end. And then a swim jig, you know, you can take that Divine swim jig around the grass. If you're struggling out deep, there's always a shallow bite. There always has been a shallow bite. We just didn't have to chase it for several years when the offshore bite was so good. But fish live shallow. They always do, and there's always some fish up shallow. Another bait that I have played with a good bit, and this is a brand new bait from 6 Cents. This is the Booza Shaky Worm. This is a 6.5 inch worm, and you can see when I grab it, it just lays limp. It's not real stiff, and it just lays completely limp. Two ways you can fish this: on a Nico rig, put you a nail in the end of it, on a spinning rod, on a spinning setup. with a little O-ring right there and rig it, wacky rig, and then fish it out there on some of those places where those fish are there and they don't want to bite. You have to make them bite. And another technique that I have used that for is the drop shot. I'll just take that 1/0 drop shot hook, hook it right through the center. And a lot of times if I'm fishing it around stumps or wood or brush, I'll actually take that thing and kind of tip it to where it's not exposed. That way it's a little bit more weedless whenever you're coming through that stuff. But that's another cool little bait. That's plum bug, the Kentucky Lake color. You know, I mean, that's when it comes to a big worm or a shaky head worm in the summertime, plum is the only one you need, period. That's it. That's kind of it. A little bit long-winded, but there are a few things working, so I wanted to kind of give you a rundown right here before the 4th of July. I know a lot of the crazies are going to be out this weekend. Be safe. Use your head, use your brain. If you are out fishing, I suggest you go out first thing in the morning. The bite's a little bit better first thing in the morning, late in the evening as well, and you know, get off before 10 or 11 o'clock. That way, you know, there's going to be some crazies out there this weekend. But hope everybody has a good 4th of July weekend. Keep in mind, if anybody needs a fishing trip or an electronics trip, shoot me an email at info@brandonhunterfishing.com. And if you're in the area, be sure and come by. Check us out at High Tech Outdoors. We've got a variety of pontoons, tri-toons, aluminum fishing boats, Camus boats, anything marine electronics. We've got a full selection of anything I've talked about here. All the 6 Sense fishing plastics, all the baits, the blade baits, everything. I've got that in stock there. Come check us out, High Tech Outdoors. We're right there off Highway 68, right before you get to Moore's Resort turnoff. And I will see you guys on the water.